Welcome to BBC News, broadcasting to Britain and around the world. I'm Sian Williams. The headlines. World Cup misery for thousands of British football fans as the government investigates an alleged ticket scandal. Germany mourns the dead as the toll of the high-speed rail crash rises. And bad news for borrowers as the Bank of England puts up interest rates.
After revelations about his private life, Michael Portillo has said he will stand for the safety of the Tory seat of Kensington and Chelsea. Hello, you're watching BBC News.
American golfer Payne Stewart has been killed in a plane crash.
There's no case for banning French meat products, according to government advisors.
And the Deputy Prime Minister's Rail Summit has promised real and fast action to improve safety on trains.
This is BBC News.
President Mugabe says he's pulling Zimbabwe out of the Commonwealth. The move came after leaders voted to renew his country's suspension. In Russia's first visit to Washington. Hello and welcome to BBC News. I'm Deborah Mackenzie.
The Sweet Chariot Victory Parade gets ready to hit the road. Johnny Wilkinson and England's rugby heroes join thousands of fans to celebrate victory. Credit card crackdown, ministers prepare the biggest shake-up in 30 years. And guilty, Greek terrorists are jailed for the murder of a British diplomat.
Also in this hour, we'll be live in central London for the World Cup Victory Parade. We'll be with the fans on the route from Marble Arch to Trafalgar Square and Buckingham Palace. And should she have gone to the gallows? The Court of Appeal rules on Ruth Ellis this morning. Good morning and welcome. England's world champion rugby players will find themselves in the biggest scrum of their lives today. And in investigation is launched into a possible attempt to defraud the National Lottery. Bank accounts are seized and major charities warned to check their accounts. Glad to be alive, Viktor Yushchenko thanks doctors who diagnosed his poisoning. Timetable for change, more passenger trains and new franchises in the biggest rail shake-up for 40 years. Sport, no fairy tale for Britain's Danny Williams as his dreams of a world title are crushed by a Russian giant. And hail St. David as Villa are undone in the Battle of Brum. Good afternoon. The Charity Commission says it's freezing a substantial number of bank accounts.
Two brothers are found guilty of killing the schoolboy Damilola Taylor. The 10-year-old bled to death after an attack in South London 6 years ago. His parents say no verdict can bring him back.
It is a great comfort that justice has finally been done for Damilola. We pray that his gentle soul can now rest in peace.
Damilola's killers had already been cleared of murder at a previous trial. And after claims that royal phones have been intercepted, police continue to question two men. It's 5 o'clock. Our main story is that two brothers have been found guilty of the manslaughter of the schoolboy Damilola Taylor.
Good morning, it's 11 o'clock. The main headlines on BBC News 24. House prices take a plunge. The Halifax reports a drop of 2.5% in March, the biggest monthly fall since the early 90s.
We'll be convening a meeting next week with the Council of Mortgage Lenders to look at what further we can do to help those families who are coming up to refinance their mortgages and are worried about what that will involve.
Police are understood to be questioning Shannon Matthews' mother about alleged inconsistencies in her version of events.
The children's TV presenter Mark Spate, whose fiancée died after taking cocaine, has gone missing.
Princes William and Harry have backed yesterday's unlawful killing verdict in the Princess Diana inquest, but Mohammed Al Fayed is considering his options.
And also coming up here on News 24, a record £35 million fine for Severn Trent Water. The company apologises and appears in court on fraud charges.
We have concluded that the right thing to do is to plead guilty on those charges. Later today we will plead that in the Magistrates' Court. It will then go to the Crown Court where the Serious Fraud Office will make their case.
And sun-kissed or the kiss of death, the risks of skin cancer from sunbeds.
Good morning, there's more evidence.
This is BBC News, the headlines at 2 o'clock. The BBC takes Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand off the air. They are suspended for a gross lapse of taste.
Well, I think it would be an appointment. Silly, sorry. You speak without thinking, but that's caused all of this trouble. So I should have. Russell, just sorry that you've just
Thousands of students starting university next year will have their grants cut because of a government overspend.
The multiple sclerosis sufferer Debbie Purdy loses her landmark legal challenge to clarify the law on assisted suicide.
I'm so disappointed that they couldn't make, a statement this time that would tell the Director of Public Prosecutions to be clear.
Also coming up in the next hour, the latest on the US presidential elections. We're live in Miami, Florida, where the Republican presidential candidate, John McCain, is expected to speak at a rally. And today, tomorrow, forever, the new memorial to honour those killed in conflicts since the Second World War.
Hello, very good afternoon to you. Two of the biggest names of the BBC, Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand, have been suspended. This is BBC News. I'm Ben Brown. The headlines at 2. 2016 is set to be the hottest year on record. Temperatures are now 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, creating extreme weather and higher sea levels. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson says Donald Trump's election as President of the United States should be seen as a moment of opportunity for Britain.
Donald Trump, as I've said before, is a deal maker. And I think that can be a good thing for Britain, but it can also be a good thing for Europe.
Dementia, including Alzheimer's, is now the leading cause of death in England and Wales, overtaking heart disease. An investigation finds that NHS bosses are trying to keep plans to cut hospital services in England secret from staff and patients. As aftershocks continue after a powerful earthquake hits New Zealand, military helicopters begin delivering aid to areas that have been cut off.
I'm Emily Maitlis, and in the next hour we'll look at a rare moment of happiness in Iraq. This Iraqi soldier sees his mother for the first time in 2 years since Islamic State seized the city of Mosul. Bigger and brighter. Tonight's the night to see the moon as you've never seen it before, if the weather allows. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to BBC News. This year, 2016, is likely to be the hottest year ever, with average global temperatures.
You're watching BBC News at 9 with me, Carrie Gracie. The headlines.
He's got it! England have won the World Cup!
English cricket celebrates an astonishing victory in the World Cup final at Lord's. They lifted the trophy after beating New Zealand with the final ball of the tournament.
We did it! We did it! Delivered. And we were brilliant! Joffre delivered! He's a boy! World champion!
Other news, the Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt will launch a fresh bid to stop the Iran nuclear deal unravelling at an EU meeting this morning. A sharp rebuke for President Trump. He's accused of racism after tweeting that 4 congresswomen should go back to where they came from. New figures from the Mayor of London show what he says is a clear link between poverty in the capital and rising youth crime. It wasn't all the cricket. It went down to the wire at Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic makes history after beating Roger Federer in a final set tiebreak. Good morning, welcome to BBC News at 9.